I remember it as being very, very scary, and thinking that this might be it. I know there was one kid I knew at Harvard, from a very rich family, who was perfectly prepared for this moment. As soon as the missile crisis started, he got on the phone, chartered an airplane, and flew up to Maine, to the bomb shelter that his parents maintained for exactly this sort of occasion. Yeah, it was a pretty raw moment. It was a pretty scary time because we did seem to be a matter of a few days away from the very real possibility that the bombs would go off. And this is something that I had been thinking about since my childhood. I'd always been afraid of the bomb. I was so afraid of it, in fact, that when I was a little kid, believe it or not, I couldn't look at a doorknob, because a doorknob, especially if you're lying in bed looking at it from the side, looks like a mushroom cloud. And we had so much. We were taught so much about nuclear war. We were taught to duck under the desk when there was the flash of light. We would be shown films from nuclear tests showing the shock wave hitting a house. I was always worried that for instance, that the Russians would attack during a thunderstorm, because then we wouldn't notice the flash of light. And so worrying about nuclear war was very real. I mean, now when people talk about growing up in the shadow of the bomb, it may not sound to somebody growing up today, who, after all, is growing up in the shadow of a lot more bombs, and a lot bigger and more dangerous bombs than we were growing up in. It may not sound real, like a real preoccupation, because nobody's really worried about nuclear war now. We were really worried about nuclear war, not just in the 60s, not just at the time of the missile crisis, but before that.